Evil Dead is arguably one of the greatest horror movie franchises. Welcome back, everyone. I am doing my first ranking video ever on the channel, and I'm actually really excited for this. I thought it was going to be a different franchise first, but no, I decided to do Evil Dead. So why I say Evil Dead is one of the greatest franchises ever is I would argue that I think every single movie in the franchise is really good. They're at least above a C. I would argue, and I think a lot of people can actually agree with this, that I feel like every single movie in the franchise, even the worst one, is really good. And it also has a really good, solid spin-off of a show, which I really like the show. I was upset that it got canceled, but what can you do? But I will argue that every single movie in this franchise is really good. Now, when I rank the Evil Dead franchise, I'm also going to add the Ash vs. Evil Dead, of course. I really liked it. When I sat there and thought about this, I actually struggled with trying to figure out which one's the worst. Which one is my least favorite out of all of them versus which one's my favorite? Because honestly, I like all of them. I sat down and watched every single one of them, and I really enjoyed them. Especially on a rewatch, I think they're all really good. The last one I watched was Evil Dead 2 with my girlfriend because my girlfriend's not the biggest fan of horror movies, and Evil Dead is just really, really tough to get into. But Evil Dead 2 is one of those that you could just watch and have a good time with. So is Army of Darkness. I was like, man, I'm going to do a ranking of these movies. I really love them. I watched them quite a bit where I just know them really, really well. So it's like, might as well. And I wanted to do a ranking video after Evil Dead Rise, but I didn't have a movie channel since then. So I was like, all right, well, we're going to do it now. Number 6 on this list is going to be Ash vs. Evil Dead. The only reason why I put this as the last one is, for one, it got canceled, so we didn't get to see the ending of it. And I did like it, but it's a TV show, so I just didn't feel like it's properly to go higher up on them. But I did really like Ash vs. Evil Dead. I think season 1 and season 3 are probably my favorites. Season 2 was kind of slow, but I still think it's a lot of fun. I think Ash vs. Evil Dead is a really good continuation of Army of Darkness, personally. I think it's really good. It has the creepy elements, but it also has the slapstick comedy that Evil Dead is known for. Even from the original Evil Dead, I would argue that slapstick comedy was in the original one as well. I think it's just a fun show. It's a little scary, so it's like, if you are someone who doesn't like scary things, just to warn you, it's very gory because it's Evil Dead. I mean, I feel like if you watch an Evil Dead movie and there's not a lot of gore, what are you doing? So I put that as number 6. And if I had to give it a rating, I'd probably give it like a 6.5, a 7 out of 10, somewhere around there. So now let's get into the movies. The movies are actually really hard to figure out where I want to place them. I'm going to tell you guys, I could probably swap all these. If you ask me the same question tomorrow, I would probably give you a different order. But today, this is my list. Number 5 is Army of Darkness. Now, if I had to give Army of Darkness a rating out of 10, I'd probably give it a 7.5 out of 10. The ratings don't really matter because honestly, I love them all, but I'm going to tell you a rating anyways. And the thing is, some of these movies are higher than Army of Darkness might have a 7 out of 10. Does it matter? No, because this is my friggin' video, so I'm going to make it what I want. Army of Darkness, why I give it the 5th spot compared to the other ones, is it does go into the more of the slapstick comedy route, more than the horror element that we dealt with Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2. I feel like if Army of Darkness stuck with the same formula as Evil Dead 2, I actually think Army of Darkness would arguably be better than Evil Dead 2. I just really think Army of Darkness went a little too far to be funny, which is fine. I mean, people love it still. I think it's one of the better ones. The thing is, I can't say they're one of the better ones because they're all really good. But I do think Army of Darkness missed that element of the horror part. Now, originally I was reading about this, that apparently Sam Raimi wanted to call it Medieval Dead, which is actually so cool, but the studio was like, no, we need to change it to Army of Darkness, which is fine. Whatever. I also don't like how Ash is stuck with not using the chainsaw hand too much. That was kind of upsetting too. But whatever. I really did like Army of Darkness. It is number 5 on my list. Number 4 on this list is the 2013 Evil Dead remake. Funny story is with this movie is I watched this the day after I watched the original Evil Dead movie. Why? I don't know why. I've seen the original Evil Dead. That was the first introduction to Evil Dead, and I was like 14, and then when I heard this movie was coming out, I was like, let's rewatch it. So we rewatched it, and then we watched this one. Now, Evil Dead 2013 is actually pretty good. A lot of people don't talk about this movie that much, which kind of blows my mind. It does every single thing in the original Evil Dead. The gore is up to an 11 in it. The Deadites are up to 11 in it. And you get really good character development with the brother and sister. You have the sister, Mia, who is a recovering addict. And they go out to the cabin. And of course, Eric, the friggin' moron, starts reading the book, even though the Book of the Dead's like, do not read, do not read, do not read. And he like pricks himself and he goes on it. And I will say the Necronomicon looks really good in this one. I will put that out there as well. But also, I love the element that Mia is recovering from being a heroin addict, and throughout this whole time she is slowly like losing her mind because she's going to get possessed by the evil, and everyone thinks, oh, she's just recovering, that's what's going on, but we all know it's not actually the truth. And this movie goes 0 to 100 so fast in it, and I really do like it. Now the director of this movie, I can't think of his name right now. Now the director for this movie also directed Alien Romulus, so I was pretty excited for Alien Romulus, but that's for a different video. I will eventually rank all the Alien movies, and I'm not looking forward to that one. But yeah, Evil Dead 2013, I actually really did like this movie. The problem is with this movie is just nothing. I really liked this movie. I liked all of them. Like I keep saying, I'm going to keep telling you guys in every single one of these movies when I'm ranking them, is I liked every single one of these movies, and I really liked Evil Dead 2013. A lot of people put this higher up on the list, which is fine. Like I said, if you ask me tomorrow, the list is going to be completely different. I can already tell you that right now. But I really did like this movie. There's some creepy scenes in this movie, especially with Mia. And there's a scene where she's like poking her head out of the cellar, and she's like, ah, like that. I thought it was just so funny. But yeah, and then you have like the toaster cutter scene, which is pretty gruesome. It's just really good stuff. Number 3 on this list is Evil Dead Rise. I did not even know this was a movie. My coworker, who I introduced to Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, told me, he's like, Zach, there's a new Evil Dead movie coming out next year. I was like, what? So we went to watch it. Him and I watched it together. I actually wore the shirt to go watch it because I'm a big fan of Evil Dead, obviously. I had no idea what I was getting into. I like how this was completely different. It's not in the cabin compared to almost every single one of them besides Army of Darkness, but this one is awesome. I thought this one was really good. Ellie, the mother, she's the only Deadite essentially throughout this whole movie, and holy crap, she does so well. I will say one of the biggest parts about this movie is the family dynamic in this movie does a really good job before the Deadite happens. You know what's happening because the opening scene of this movie is so insanely good. Someone gets scalped, which is badass, and someone dies from one of those helicopter things, you know, the droids, the flying droid things, whatever. Yeah, someone gets scalped, and then he immediately changes to the day before, which is so cool. And everything that's happening in this hotel, I mean, in this apartment, which is even cooler. It's just like an apartment, and then an earthquake happens in California, and then the kids find the Necronomicon. It's a vinyl, which is even cooler, and then the son does the vinyl thing and starts playing it like an idiot, and then that's what happened, and the mom gets possessed, which is really cool stuff. And then the rest of it is history. I think probably the best scene, from my opinion, everyone always talks about the cheese grater scene is like so gross, but I'm like, whatever. I think my favorite scene is the peephole scene. Is where it's through the lens of only the peephole, and the mom is just killing all the rest of the neighbors, and the little girl, and the mom's like talking to the little girl, which is so freaking creepy. The little girl like opens up because the mom's like manipulating her, which is perfect from, you know, the Deadites. It's just what the Deadites do. But oh my gosh, so good. So good. I really love this movie. If I had to give it a rating, I forgot, I didn't rate the other one. I would give the other one like an 8 out of 10, and I would give this one an 8 out of 10. I liked both of them a lot. Evil Dead Rise is just really good. I think it did a better job than the remake. The remake is literally a remake of it, or it also could be like a sequel, I guess. But yeah, this one, the only problem is it bothers me both times in both of these movies. The only complaint I have both of them is in the remake, Maya rocks a hand with no hand. She loses her hand, just like Ash does, and she rocks a chainsaw, just like Ash does. This one, the sister, Beth, also rocks a chainsaw and says, come get some. And I'm like, oh man, I get it, the referencing the other movies, but also I'm like, oh, I don't know. It's just like something that's like, I gatekeep that because that's just Ash. That's Ash. It's not these characters at all. Maybe that's just me, but I really did like Evil Dead Rise. I think it was a really fun movie that I didn't expect liking as much as I did. But after I got out of the theaters, I was like, damn, that's a really good movie. The gore's up to 11. I really am glad that the remakes of these movies didn't take the Army of Darkness route and they just stuck with Evil Dead, the original route, more than anything else. I thought it was awesome. So the last two I think are pretty obvious. So number 2 on this, and like I said, I'm going to keep saying this, but you can flip-flop these constantly on all of my ranking. Like if you ask me tomorrow, I might change these rankings already. Like when I was looking at the list before I recorded, I was like, I don't know if I want to keep these. It's just because I love this franchise so much, and I don't think any of these movies are actually bad. I really don't. Number 2 on the list is the original Evil Dead. I watched this movie when I was 12 years old. I already watched horror movies going into it, but I've never seen a movie this violent and this gory before, so this really was like, wow. So I really got into the gore of this movie, and I really do like this movie. I usually, if I watch the Evil Dead movies, which I do every couple years, I rewatch all of them. I usually start with this one, then Evil Dead 2, then Army of Darkness, Evil Dead Remake, and then Evil Dead Rise. I really do rewatch these movies once in a while. I just sit there and binge them all. Evil Dead, the 1980 film, really still lives up to the mantle of just indie film. It's the definition of a B movie. Does that mean it's perfect? No. The acting is not amazing. The direction of the movie is not amazing, but you can really tell the heart of this movie. And especially when you hear the behind the scenes of everything is insane. And the cool part is my parents live an hour away from the original cabin. We went out to drive to it because I wanted to look at it. Yeah, they blocked off the trail and no one's allowed to go out there anymore. And the cabin's burnt down, which I'm really sad about. But regardless though, I was a hike away from going to the original cabin. And I'm really sad about that. With that being said though, with this movie, I really do like this movie. You get to see a lot of characters and you get to meet the best final guy in all of movies, Ash Williams. Is this movie amazing? Does Ash really shine in this movie like he does in the rest? Not really. He does play the scared dude. Like he really does play the character that you think, yeah, this is the final guy. Because he doesn't do anything. He is terrified of the Deadites. He's terrified of everything. But then he grows into being Ash Williams, which is really cool. And I will say, I think the creepiest scene about all this is the pencil scene. And everyone knows what I'm talking about, where she grabs a pencil and stabs him. Oh, when Linda does that, you're like, oh my gosh. It's so uncomfortable, but it's so good. I love it. It's probably my favorite scene in the whole thing. Or actually that, or when when Linda turns into it and they're playing cards and she's like, ace of spades, ace of spades. Yeah, everyone knows what I'm talking about for that scene. This movie is really good. Like this is a gory movie. Like it's so crazy when I watch this movie and just see where this movie was. Then I see Evil Dead 2 and it's just completely different. Evil Dead 2, there is some gore, but you can definitely tell Evil Dead got hit with a lot of things. But oh my gosh, I loved Evil Dead. Oh man, if I had to rate it out of 10, I'd probably give it like a 9 out of 10. I love Evil Dead. Last but not least, everyone knows my favorite one currently right now is Evil Dead 2. And I feel like a lot of people always put Evil Dead 2 as their first one because it is really good. Like Evil Dead 2 is arguably the best. I think it's the best one of the franchise. It really is. I think there's a lot of other ones clearly on this list that are really good, but Evil Dead 2 is really good. It's kind of like when you rank like fantasy books and everyone always puts like Lord of the Rings as number 1. Even if there's ones that are better, they always put Lord of the Rings. But in this case, Evil Dead 2 is the best one. I think it's the best combination of the gore and the slapstick comedy that Sam Raimi likes to bring to his films. I think this does both of them excellent. And you get Ash with some one-liners, and Ash grows into, he has the best character development in this movie compared to Army of Darkness and Evil Dead. And I think Evil Dead going to Evil Dead 2, Ash gets a good growth in it, and you can really see him mature as a character as he becomes the GOAT of Final Guys. Everyone knows. I mean, when you think of Final Guys, it's really hard to figure out who's like all these Final Guys. I actually want to do a list of my top 10 favorite Final Guys. I actually struggle because the only ones I could think of is like Ash, because Ash is like the only one that's just amazing. The rest are kind of forgettable or they just don't really exist. In general though, Evil Dead 2 is awesome. I really liked it. You get the chainsaw hand, you get the one-liner of groovy. So you get those two, you get the sawed-off shotgun. What else do you need in this movie? I just really do enjoy this movie. There's a lot of times, and I would argue that I think Bruce Campbell doing all these acting chops by himself, like there was no stuntman. He was doing all of them by himself, especially when his hand got possessed. He was doing all that by himself, which was so great. It was just such a great performance from Bruce Campbell in this movie. He clearly carried this movie. Like you could tell, like he definitely carried the movie for Evil Dead 2. But I just think the story and everything of Evil Dead 2 was great. So those are my ranking, guys, of the Evil Dead franchise. What do you guys think of it? Do you guys agree with my ranking of the Evil Dead franchise, or do you not? What would you put up in your ranking? Do you include the show or do you not include the show? I'd love to know all your thoughts down below. And of course, stay safe, everyone.